should be. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Authorsphere. I'm your host, Dan Alatorre, and joining me today is prolific author CB Samet. Christina, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I saw your videos on TikTok, and I got to admit, I was intrigued. How long have you been over there on TikTok doing that?
Just about 6 months now. Not.
Oh my gosh. See,
not
I was convinced you were going to say like 2 years or something. No, you're good at it. It looks, what I think I told you, what I enjoy about your videos is it seems like you enjoy making them. And for me, that's like the most important thing about when I'm watching, TikTok.
Yeah, they're fun. Just a fun chance to, mimic things the way other people are doing, but make jokes out of it, turn different scenes into writing life or author life.
Yeah, you mentioned that you do a lot of mimicking. So you've got your trademark hat, which you wear a lot in your videos. Sometimes it's a wig, sometimes it's other things. But I think so mimicking, I think what she means is some other audio is playing with words and she's mimicking that text and then doing whatever you're doing. I think that would be a lot harder than just speaking myself. So how long does it take you to do one of those things?
I usually have to run it through 2 or 3 times before I make sure the audio lines up halfway decently in practice. But I can do one of the shorter videos, maybe 10 seconds. It takes about 20 minutes from start to finish.
Wow. I don't know. Well, I guess maybe when I watch myself do one of those, I'm a hard critic on myself where it's like, the words that they're hearing are not matching up with my mouth, but maybe nobody's paying that close of attention. At least I'm not.
Yeah, I think with TikTok, you don't shoot for perfection. Just make it, like you said, make it fun.
Yeah, good point. Well, I got to tell you, 6 months. Have you ever looked at how many videos you've done in that amount of time?
I haven't done a total count. I should probably do that. I know my family's about done with me showing them my TikTok videos.
Well, there's a lot of them, and what's cool, I guess TikTok does this, makes sense. When you watch somebody's video and you decide, hey, that's interesting, they make it really easy to click over and watch some more. And then if you follow the person, you're likely to get maybe 5 the next time you log on, like not in a row, but like right. 5 mixed in pretty quick. But it'll be 5 from whenever. So one of the 5 might be something you did yesterday. The next one might be something you did a couple of months ago. And there's at least I don't know what the rhyme or reason is as to why they're showing those to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you get the idea of, like you say, mimicking? Other people do it on TikTok, but what was it about it that clicked with you and tying it to your writing?
Yeah, I started by following authors. And so I just saw what they were doing in terms of either the voice overlay or the music overlay, and picked the ones that I enjoy, that I thought fit with what I write, which is romantic suspense thrillers and some urban fantasy, and just kind of started weaving those in and doing what other people were doing. And it seems they get a few likes and a few comments here and there. So I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy.
No, you're doing a good job at it. Most of the people I talk to on TikTok, and that's probably true of all marketing, is, figure out what your lane is or your niche or whatever you want to call it. And you certainly do that on TikTok. Is that the same thing? You described your books as romance, suspense thrillers, which is, romance is romance, and there's usually some suspense in there, but not always. And then thrillers may or may not have romance. So you've kind of carved out a unique niche there, would you say?
Yeah, so I did not pick a single genre. I picked a theme. So my theme is she needed a hero, so she became one.
Yeah, I saw that on your website.
And so, so it's different genres that still fit that same theme.
So what would you say is your most popular book? The Writer File series?
Yeah, that series is the most popular series.
Maybe,
and that's
the first book, and that's probably the most popular one.
Most read, yeah. It's a romantic suspense, sort of a Leverage meets Romancing the Stone sort of vibe.
And now, is that based on any of that based on your actual experiences in your own life?
Um, not for the writer files. The thriller series I wrote, which is the Lillian White series, Black Gold, White Knight, and Gray Horizon. So Black Gold was set in Kenya and actually did a medical mission there.
Really? Oh yeah,
And
you
that was
mentioned about going to medical school. So I didn't
that
ask. What is your official designation there as far as the medical
yeah. So
profession?
my day job that pays for my writing hobby is a pulmonary critical care physician.
Wow. Holy cow.
So some of that is woven in. I don't put that on my website or on my books because I don't want to give people the impression there's a lot of technical stuff in my books. They really are just fun adventures.
That's probably a smart move. I did some marketing with a lady I got to know. She was a doctor. She passed away sometime last year, but she made the doctor and then her name pretty prominent on her books, which but she wrote medical thrillers. So I think that lent credibility to it to a point where if I saw your name as Dr. CB Samet, I might automatically think it's a medical thriller. And if I don't like or don't want to read a medical thriller, it might steer me away. So maybe there's
Right.
some shrewd marketing there where you didn't put it on. But you mentioned, I didn't see it anywhere on your website or anything else, on Amazon or anything else. But it was, well, I guess we were corresponding back and forth through TikTok.
Right.
You
Right.
mentioned about medical school. And I was like, oh, yeah, hold on now. Did I screw up? Did I forget who I'm talking to? Because I know a number of doctors who are my beta readers, and because I was writing a medical thriller series for a while.
Yeah, I have done beta reading for other authors. They're like, can you read the scene and make sure that I got this emergent delivery correct or
Yeah, exactly.
cardiac arrest scene correct? So,
Well, you know what happens. It's like anything else. If I'm writing a crime novel and I have a cop pull a gun and maybe they have to reload, it's like, well, now I got to find out what kind of gun do they use on the Tampa Police Force? How do you reload it? Luckily, you go to YouTube and say reloading, whatever they use, and then you watch the video and okay, I can describe that and it'll be fairly accurate for anybody who cares. But medical thrillers are different. I had a scene where somebody was coding, okay, and so I watched a video about what type of instructions they would call out as they're working on that patient trying to save them, right? And I wrote it down, but it was based on like a TV show, which had medical experts apparently. So anyway, I write down, I didn't copy it, but I wrote down basically kind of very similar type thing. I rolled out there my beta readers, and of course my cardiac nurses and my one of my physicians is like, it's not really like this. We wouldn't say this. We wouldn't do that. I'm like, well, okay, but my excuse was, it's like, okay, I want it right, but I don't want it so right that people at home who've only seen stuff on TV think it's wrong because it's so accurate. So that was how I tried to thread that needle. In the end, there, I think everybody's happy. But what kind of issues have you come into like that in your stories?
I've done like emergent trachs on the scene, chest tubes. So I
What would a
think
chest tube be like for aeration?
yeah. So like
Ventilation, I guess.
a stab wound where they had what's called a hemothorax, blood in the chest cavity, and have to evacuate it with a chest tube.
And do you use legit terminology in those scenes, or do you?
It depends on whose point of view it is. So if I have a physician, a nurse, a paramedic that's doing the procedure, then yeah, what's going through their head will be more technical terms. But if it's just a third party watching it, then I'll try to make it more in layman's terms.
Now, did I read in your bio that some of the say books you enjoyed younger in your life or earlier in your life, or authors who may have inspired you were people like Michael Crichton and things like that?
Yeah, I read a lot of the Bourne books growing up, so Robert Ludlum, and then a lot of the Michael Crichton books. I think it was mostly just what my parents happened to have on the shelf that,
Yeah.
that I could
When I was a
consume.
kid. So my dad was a physician. He was a very voracious reader. And so we always read paperbacks constantly. And so then there was a bookshelf upstairs where I guess we didn't throw the books away and we didn't donate them. They just all went on the bookshelf. He had a bunch of kids who might eventually read them. And yeah, there was just always a ton of books around. A lot of them were medical thrillers, a lot were not, but a certain level of, I'll say, a certain level of sophistication in the books. Like we had the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew for my sisters and my older brothers, but those books always just seemed so lame compared to the other stuff that was there on the shelves. And so I really never got into Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew, but a lot of the other Michael Crichton certainly, big fan of his, and some of the other authors maybe that were popular in the 70s, you know, when my dad was really, when I was around more to be able to read what he was reading or see what he was reading. So who do you read a lot of these days?
Since I'm more heavily into romance, lots of Nora Roberts, Sandra Brown, and then I try to give back. So you try to beta read for some people as well. So those are a variety of different genres.
Do you beta read for anybody we would have heard of?
Um, so Paul Ardoin is a mystery writer. He's a USA Today bestseller. He's got a really great Fenway mystery series. So I've enjoyed. He's had me since the first book, and so I'm glad he's kept me on. It's been a fun beta reader. I think I've helped some input on the medical side of his murder mysteries, so it's gone well.
What do you think the good length of the series should be? Like no end, 20 books, 30 books for one series is good, or maybe 5 or 6 and then on to a different one?
Yeah, if you can keep coming up with original content and you don't have massive cliffhangers, you have just kind of leave it hanging just a little bit, I think you can keep going. And definitely, I read all of the Jim Butcher Dresden File series, and I think he's up to like 15 or 16 now. But I still enjoy every one of them. Never feel like it's repetitive.
No, that's right. Well, it's like if you enjoy a TV show. I was looking at some show that I never watched. I always knew it was around, but I never watched. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Okay, and I knew some of the actors who were in that. I knew them from other things, like Horrible Bosses has one of the guys who's in that show, right? And I love him as a comedian. He was in the Vacation movie, so he's a very funny guy, and he's in that TV show. So I was like, I should probably check out the TV show. I like Danny DeVito. I like this guy. I like that lady. And I like the TV show, but I like these people and other things more, right? So then I click on it, and in some interview, some YouTube interview, and he goes, "Yeah, we're coming back for season 7 or 9 or whatever it was." And I was like, if you had asked me, I would have said, "Yeah, it probably ran 2 or 3 years, 5 years ago." I didn't think it was still on, and maybe it's not on, but I never would have said 7 years or whatever it was. 7 years of that show, and I never tuned in for a single episode. I just knew it was out there, but it's like a timing thing, I guess. You don't have time for every single thing, so to look at that and say that's not every week, but certainly lots of weeks during the year for 7 years, that's tons of episodes. Or if you look at ER in medical drama or some other shows like that, cop shows, fire shows about firemen and stuff, or firefighters, they can go 5 6 years and they've got certainly not a novel every week, but you could say several novels over the course of a year, which would be a giant series. And I don't have a problem with that. I've never written a series that went that long, but insofar as if the story is interesting to you, if the people already like the characters, why wouldn't you have them come back and do this, that, and the other? I mean, it makes sense. So now, how many titles do you have out?
I was doing the math earlier, so 24 novels, and then I do novellas also.
Yeah, I was scrolling through. I'm like, it's upwards of 24, I think. Maybe
yeah.
I'm looking at some of the novellas as well.
Yeah, and the writer file is the longest one, so it's 7, and I'm working on numbers 8 and 9. And
when do they due out?
I don't have set dates on those yet. So, but 8 will be sometime next year.
Do you try to do a variety each year, or 1 or 2 of the writer files each year? What do you shoot for?
Yeah, I like 1 or 2 of the writer files each year since that's the most popular. I am branching out currently. I'm finishing a urban fantasy romance trilogy. So it's romantic suspense plus urban fantasy, and that one's been a lot of fun. So the first one comes out in November, and Second one is finished and with a beta reader, and third one will be finished probably by the end of the year.
So November of like next month?
Yeah, next month.
Wow. So one in a month, another one before the end of the year, and then one more after that.
Release dates will be, I mean, the second one is done, but it won't be finished editing and released till February. And then
Yeah,
the third one
that's
will
pretty
be
quick release, a couple of months
yeah.
between each one.
Yeah, I've been working on those in tandem for the last year.
That's pretty fast. So three books you wrote in the course of a year to have a rapid release, that's pretty fast. And then you also wrote something else in that year that wasn't part of that series.
Yeah, I'm part of the Heroes with Heat and Heart anthology. So it's they do a fundraiser anthology book every year. And so I did one for last June. I'm writing one for next June. So that one on top of those, and then a novella that goes with the Lily and White thriller series. So I did that this year also. That was fun.
How do you like working in those anthologies?
This one was a great experience. They were all hard workers, lots of promotion. I think we raised, I want to say like $4,000 for wildland firefighters. So they it was a lot of fun, great group to work with, and signed up for another year.
We should point out $4,000 may not sound like a lot of money, but that's royalty money off of it was a special priced box set, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. It was a 99-cent box set, and there was a paperback available as well.
But most of the sales are going to be through the 99-cent. And how many books were they getting in that box set?
Ooh, 20, 21.
Yeah. So
yeah.
20 books, again, it's going to a charity, but when you sell a book at 99 cents, you're making about less than 30 cents. So to make $4,000 means it was upwards of 12,000 sales, which that is a big deal. If I did that math right. I think I did.
Well, yeah, and the royalties, Amazon is 30%, but Barnes and Noble, Kobo, iBooks, you're going to get 60 cents on those. So
yeah, so still a volume went out the door.
Yeah, a good volume of book sales. We were excited.
It was good to have a paperback too of that as well. So was it a paperback of the whole box set?
Right. So these were all novellas, so they could actually fit in a paperback as opposed to full-length novels.
That's still got to be a big paperback. How many pages long was that thing?
I didn't put it together with the group, so I didn't hear the final page count, but
it's got to be over 400 pages, I'm sure.
Got to be, yeah. I think it was closer to 6.
So, what do you like about writing a novella as opposed to a regular novel?
You just kind of get your quick action and your quick happy ending. So if you're a busy person, I think it's a nice quick reads. You don't have quite the escapism that you have with the longer books where you really dive deep into the characters, but it is a nice entertainment without having to have the time investment of a larger book.
Definitely that. The novella, how long would you say one of your typical novellas is?
Usually 15 to 25,000 words.
And how long would you spend writing something like
that? Probably a month.
So there you get kind of in and out, like you're saying, and that's not full time because you have a full time.
Right.
That's when I participated in some horror story anthologies, and it was a roundabout way we ended up doing that. I used to have a writing contest on my blog that I got talked into, and but it would just with people who would submit, there was just so much talent out there. I'm like, we got to do something with stuff. So we published a book, but we thought let's have a contest with a theme, and if it's a horror theme or whatever, then we'll publish a horror anthology, and it'll make a little more sense instead of just a random collection. So we did I think 5 of those, excuse me, and it was fun because there was not a lot of pressure. It's like the end user is going to get a nice volume of stories, any one of which they may enjoy, or several they may not enjoy, but there's a variety. So there's going to be something in there that they're going to like. And then I could write something, because it'd be a horror anthology. I could write something that I normally wouldn't write, like a vampire or a werewolf or whatever. Still bringing in some suspense and horror elements or whatever, but allowing it to go into that direction of just that, more of a make-believe world than maybe with murder mystery crime fiction, which kind of the laws of gravity still apply over here, whereas over there a little less. full moon, nothing strange necessarily happens to your characters in a crime novel. Maybe
Right.
there's a few more calls they have to run that night, but nobody shapeshifts or anything. So I had fun doing those, and most of mine, I think most of everybody's were not novella length, but a little longer than a typical short story. And a lot of the ones I did were, it was fun to just have this idea and spin the idea out, but not have to worry about 80,000 words of this where it all makes sense and every page is worthwhile because it's only 10 pages maybe or 20, and not worried about, it's pretty easy to tie a shorter story up quickly because you don't have to have too much information going on about when the story's done, what happens to everybody. It's like, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of parachute in, tell your scenes, and then parachute back out.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I tied my novellas in this Hero with Heat and Heart series to be from the writer files. So if they like the novella, they will hopefully go on to check out the writer files.
Yeah, no doubt. That's always something that a lot of people have told me I should do, create a novella for, like a prequel to one of my series. And I'm just like, I don't know what I would write that would be 20,000 words or something. That would be introduce somebody who never knew about these characters, introduce them quickly and have it be a worthwhile story that would segue into the series. I'm sure it can be done. Other people do it. You did it. But for me, it's like, how short of a story would I want to tell with those characters? Because I already know those characters and they've already done all these things. Then I got to go back before they started and figure out, was this before they met? Is this before they were working together? That sounds easy, but for me, that's way harder. I'd rather just give away the first book in the series, which I haven't done, but I'd rather do that. And then just say, hey, here's everybody, here's the whole story, and then come on board. But with the horror stories, it's very easy to just create some people, bring them in, have it be done. But it's very smart that you interplayed your characters from the writer files in those novellas, because that's definitely a nice crossover marketing.
Yeah, and I would say it might be a little different than what you have going on, since the way the writer files works is each novel is a new characters that meet and fall in love. You may have met them in the previous one, but now we're on Jean and Beau's story, and so each one has its own happily ever after. So to create kind of a prequel novella or interim novella, you can weave in a couple of the characters from the before after book, but it's still a new adventure, a new romance. So that's where it works well for that. I struggled with the same thing that you're describing with my thriller series, because I'm like, the two main characters meet in the first book. I don't know how to
Yeah.
I can't put them together any sooner than that.
Well, like in the Meridian files, you have at least in the beginning of it, you have her chapter, then his chapter, then her chapter, then his chapter. So like you, I go back and I say, okay, in my murder mystery series, Double Blind, I have a male and female cop who are partners. They've been working together for 4 years. So if I wanted to have a prequel, do I go back to when just 1 or 2 years earlier than this first story? Then I still got to have all those same dynamics, and I still got to have whatever's going to be an interesting plot. When I go through that much work, I'm probably writing a novel because there's that much to it. I don't know how I would introduce, this is just me, I don't know how I would introduce a good idea for murder detectives to be working on and wrap up in 20,000 words. It seems like it always, whenever I start thinking about an idea, it just expands. That's a novel, and maybe fewer subplots or something. Or I always thought about, like, if you have TV shows, they have a Christmas episode or a Halloween episode. I'm like, well, maybe the novella would be that. It's the two of them stuck in the office on a rainy day before Christmas or before Halloween or something, and it's just that. And I was like, nah, I don't know if that would give the right flavor of what the other novels are about. So,
Right.
I am strong myself. It's just all mentally, it just doesn't, I'm not figuring it out.
Yeah, that my friend Paul he just wrote a Christmas novella in that way. He writes murder mysteries, and so he did a short novella. But yeah, I don't know that it could be used as an intro book.
Well, and there again, can your books be read rather out of order in those series?
Yep. Yeah, they can. I hope that I create enough intrigue that they want to go back and read the ones that I haven't read yet, but I've done book bubs on them out of order, and it's worked well.
Yeah, I think readers are sophisticated enough to know if they're reading book two that something else happened in book one, and if there's a book three, like I said, a friend of mine was reading Harry Potter. I said, the fact that before I ever start reading the books, the fact that there's 8 of them, I feel comfortable Harry doesn't die in the first one, right? So call me crazy. If there's five books in a series, I'm gonna wager 1 or 2 of these people make it all the way through. I don't know necessarily Game of Thrones, maybe they don't, but
Right. Yeah.
So who would you say who is your favorite character? And then could be the same answer, could be a different answer. Who is your reader's favorite character as far as you know? But who is yours and then who is theirs?
Yeah, I think mine is Lillian White from her adventure series. So that's the thriller one. She's smart but sassy, solves all kinds of problems from biological warfare to a nuclear threat. So she just finds herself in these situations, but manages to get out of them. I think characters that I've heard readers get most excited about. A lot of people liked Claire from the Writer Files. So she's their kind of computer specialist who researches people and clients and situations and gets people out of tight spots, but all from the console of her massive computer workstation. And she gets her own story in book 4. And I think they just the way she geeks out on a lot of things, I think resonates with some of the readers. So I think people had a lot of fun with that one.
So she's a constant character in the other books too?
Right. So she works for Writer Security Investigation as their computer specialist, and then she gets her own story, but you see her again in all of them.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that too, where it's like you can have this ensemble cast, or in your case, you got different groups rotating in and out, but you got a few constants, and then every once in a while push one of those to the front to to have their own feature for a while, and then next book back off and have the other dynamics at play. I think it keeps it interesting for us, the writers, obviously, but I think readers enjoy that. You always get people who have their favorite character who are like, I want to see more of so and so. And it's like, well, is that character strong enough to have their own book, or are they a great spice to the soup of the overall? But all spice just all that one spice may not be a good novel by itself. You have to balance that, I guess, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so you have a busy schedule probably, I'm guessing, in your daytime job, your other when you're not writing. What kind of a routine do you manage to create for crafting your stories?
Yeah, definitely first morning, as soon as my coffee is on my desk, I'm at working. That's usually writing. Sometimes it's squeezing in a little bit of marketing. If I have a scene in my head, I can dictate on the way to work. So I can maybe get another scene down real quick in that 20-minute drive, and then same thing on the drive back. And then after the kids are tucked into bed, work a little bit more on writing. If I do go to conferences, that's plane time is great because nobody can bother you, and you can get a bunch of writing or editing done on plane flights.
Now I like to do I get a lot of good ideas that come when I'm not in front of my computer. I'm more the type who I think about my stories all the time. Maybe I'm cooking something for dinner or folding a basket of laundry or whatever, or out exercising or whatever I'm doing. A lot of that unproductive time, well, it's productive, but you're doing something else. It's not, your brain's not necessarily engaged in folding laundry. That's not pulmonary surgery or anything. My mind can wander and everything turns out okay. The underwear's not folded right. Wow. Oh, wow. So that's a little different there. But I find that I'll get some kind of an idea, and a lot of it's when I'm working out, because I guess you're spend some of the time venting the stress of the day, and then you're relaxing and you're engaging and you're mentally relaxed, then I think, and then the ideas can come to you. But usually if I'm driving or I'm jogging down the street here, I don't usually have my computer to capture that idea. So I am a big fan of, I open up Notepad, I'll do a quick talk to text. Oh, what if, the killer was this and was disguised or blah, 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 or just some chunk that I think that's really interesting. I'm trying to capture it right away. So I don't dictate a scene necessarily. I might do some dialogue, but capture the essence, the idea, and then as soon as I got it down, captured down in a talk to text, then I just email that to myself. I don't usually look at it until the next day. And when I look at it the next day, then I'm much more objective. The urgency is gone. I can be critical of it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So I gather a bunch of those, and then there's other times when I sit down and just collect some outlining of this, then this, and this should happen in this story. I'll throw them all in a file. And then I go through when it's time to actually produce the novel. It's like, oh yeah, this idea fits. This one maybe should be for a different series. This one, I don't know what I was thinking. And I'm allowed to allow myself to capture lots of ideas. Then I get to sift through and figure out hopefully what the best ones to put in the story. But that's how I dictate, so to speak. What is it that you do when you're doing that?
Yeah, I have just a dictation app on my phone. It converts it to text, and then I cut and paste it, send it to myself, and then work on it from there. But yeah, usually I am saying the whole scene.
Really? So you'll think through the whole scene and capture it all.
Yeah. And then I get the dialogue down. I usually have to go back and add the setting and whatever details about the light through the trees.
Yeah. The stuff that the second or third pass is like, okay, so now where are these people? They're not just disembodied heads. They're
yes,
doing something or being somewhere. Now, what type of a scene do you enjoy writing the most?
I like snarky dialogue is fun. I was just rereading, going through beta reader notes on one scene, and where I've got this assassin on the boat, and she's talking to her therapist at the time that she's taking out all these gunmen on this $1 million yacht, and it's just a fun back and forth because you've got action mixed with dialogue.
Oh, that does sound fun. I think readers enjoy witty banter. And I enjoy that. So I usually include some of that in my stories, and it's usually not related at all to what the people are, the task at hand. It's like they're talking about, whatever, you didn't take the trash out. It's like, yeah, well, I didn't know it was my night. And meanwhile, they're looking at somebody with 2 bullet holes in their chest, and just the disconnect, but also the real worldness of it. But again, trying to put it in like I said, like a witty banter type of framework, which you see in old movies and in TV shows and stuff, and certain books are well written that way. And I just think people tend to like those characters. And maybe that character is able to say the thing in the moment that the reader wishes they could say, or wish they were that witty, or wish they'd come up with that line, kind of thing. Or like you said, talking to a therapist while they're taking out the gun, and the reader probably enjoys the thought of being able to do something like that.
Yeah. I think Jim Butcher in the Dresden Files does a real good job of all the snarky comments in the middle of something else going on.
Snarky is funny because it's a little more sarcastic, would you say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a little irreverent, maybe. So what are you working on now? What project is going to get your attention today or tomorrow?
Yeah, probably these beta reader edits on Stormfile. So it's the second book in the Shadow Guardian series, which is the urban fantasy romance that I'm working on.
You have a pretty good group of beta readers, the same people each book, or they've been with you for a while, or is it?
Since I have a couple that are the same, so the same 3. And then since I write in different genres, I have some people that I know, like, they'll be happy to read my thriller. They don't have any interest in the romance, which is fine. And so for this particular urban fantasy, I didn't have anybody specific to urban fantasy. So I found another one on top of my stable 3 to branch out to and try. And he's doing a fantastic job.
How many betas do you usually use on a particular book?
5 or 6. And sometimes I will get complete strangers and just exchange books with them as a way to just get fresh eyes on everything.
so I have a mailing list. It used to be like 3,000 people, but like 2,000 of them weren't opening the email on a regular basis. So I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of you guys and just keep a core group. And so in there, and then I have subgroups. So I have like my beta readers is a subgroup in there. And I would say there's probably maybe, let's just guess, say around 30 that are in that subgroup. And for me, it's always a matter of, okay, I got a novel coming out December 31st. So in October, November, who's available to read it? Not everybody is, just because I have a book coming out, they're not necessarily available. Other people are like, yeah, I'll put aside this other project and I'll pay to read your thing. And maybe out of that core group, maybe let's say 20 will ask for the book and 15 or so will be able to read it and send back whatever notes or suggestions or typos they catch in the time frame I need. And if it falls outside of it, I'm like, hey, not a problem. I understand. Do what you can. But my thinking is that probably if something goes through that many pairs of eyeballs and issues like plot holes aren't discovered or anything, then there's probably not a plot hole. It's
Right.
probably okay. I feel pretty comfortable with the story before I send it to them, obviously. But there's always so I kind of do it in groups like this 10, and then when I get their notes, I'll incorporate whatever I'm going to incorporate and send out the next 10. So it's a cleaner version as it goes.
Right.
And there's always somebody who, even though I'm pretty sure at this point it's clean, there's always somebody who will say, you know what? You opened a quote here and you didn't end it, you missed a comma. They'll find like two or three things in that book that nobody else found. And I'm just like, I as a reader, I just don't do that. I may catch something here and there, or like if something isn't phrased easily, it'll stick out to me, but then you reread it and you just move on because, oh, I get what they were saying. But I'm not probably the type of reader who would catch, there should have been a comma in the middle of this sentence and you didn't have one. I'm probably not the reader who would catch that.
Yeah, that's good if you have 15 to 20 that because yeah, things do slip through. You try your hardest and get through a whole bunch of beta readers and then professional editing and still end up with a few
But
typos.
when you send it out, you've caught all the mistakes you can catch. That's why you're sending it out. And then they catch a bunch of them. And it's like, even if it's only, six commas or something, it's like, well, thank you. I'm glad we caught those before the readers got a hold of it. But why couldn't I see that? And of course, it's by that point, I've read it so many times, I know what I meant, whether or not
Right.
I actually wrote that. There's a missing word. It's like, should this say, this word in here? It's like, yeah, mentally it was there. Didn't make it out of the page, but
Yep, exactly. Yep. I feel your pain with that.
so how long would you say it takes you, regular full-length novel, start to finish to write it?
Probably 6 months. I typically work on more than one at a time, so
See,
it's
I
a little
don't.
harder to
For
gauge.
me, I get confused about them. I'm afraid of, let's say, accidentally giving this character's snarky characteristics bleed over into this character who isn't that way in a different story, right? Kind of like accidentally painting with that same brush. So I try not to do that. I think I would make mistakes like that a lot. So how many projects do you work on at a time?
Usually three.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it go faster for me. So if I'm stuck on one and I'm like, I don't know how to get from point A to point B with these characters or this part of the plot, I can put it down and work on this other book.
Yeah, you can always go with the hot hand. If you're stuck somewhere, you got two other books you can work on. It allows you to relax about the one that's got the problem, and eventually maybe the solution comes to you.
Yeah.
My process is more like, I understand I have that problem there. I'll make a note, hey, such and such is a problem. I'll go on and work on other aspects of the story or write other chapters or whatever. And then I'm on the treadmill or I'm, whatever. And it'll just come to me. It's like, this is how you need to fix that. Or go back and change such and such, and then it eradicates that problem. And but like I said, I'm more like I think about my books a lot when I'm not in front of the computer. Are you that way? Well, you've kind of said in your in the moments when your brain does not need engaged in crucial things, you do spend time on them then. But
Yeah, I do walk. I have a treadmill also. I play a lot of tennis. So tennis is
well,
a
that's
lot of
why I
times.
asked if real life was part of the story, is because the Meridian file has that tennis player in it, and I thought
Yes.
this is probably something you did.
Yeah. So my husband and I actually met playing tennis, and I told him a couple years into my writing, I was like, well, I want to create a bodyguard series, but with strong women. Um, and the first one we talked about was, well, let's make it a professional women's tennis player that happens to also need a bodyguard, and that was a lot of research to write to
About
write about.
tennis, something that you
Yeah,
knew about, you had to research.
yeah, but I didn't know quite. I didn't know as much about the actual women's professional tennis
Oh,
and
the
how that
professional end of
rotation
it.
worked.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer Ruff, who was, sometimes on our podcast here with me, she wrote about, I want to say it was gymnastics. One of her early books was like a gymnast who accidentally is around when a murder takes place, and then she's kind of in fear for her life thing. Um, and I think, heck, now I gotta remember if I'm saying it right. I believe that was based on not the murder part, but just the athleticism stuff, pushing yourself, and all the things that were necessary to be that gymnast. Now, why it struck me as authentic was because there was a lot of detail, and it just seemed accurate, even though I have no vision of what that world is. But it brought in a lot of aspects that totally made sense that I would never think of. Like if you watch the old Rocky movie, and how he runs and he has to work out and he's boxing, hanging sides of beef, and just a lot of things that go into preparing for a fight that I would never know is a day in, day out routine for someone who does that. So that authenticity and that detail and the volume of it. And of course, a gymnast is surrounded by other gymnasts. So they're all going through it. And it just made it more real. And I got that same vibe. I couldn't even tell you what it was. It was probably the character is like getting ready to do, she's thinking about something else and she's getting ready to hit her shot that's going to win the match, I think. And it's all about bending the knees and taking a breath and this and that. Again, I'm like, I don't think about that. If I hit a tennis ball, I hit a tennis ball. I'm not thinking about bending my knees. And she's doing that while she's thinking about something else, I think. And it just
Right.
kind of underscored to me, I bet this is someone who's done these things, because you just knew a lot about it.
Yeah. Describing the mechanics and all, and just the fun of play and practice and all the hard work. That part I got down.
Now, what would you say time wise you spend on the various marketing of your books? Like, what kind of marketing are you doing for them?
Yeah, I have some Amazon ads going. I do Facebook ads, but those are typically for the reader magnet. So I'm trying to get people to sign up for my newsletter.
Which one's your reader magnet?
I have one for the urban fantasy that's going to come out. So I have that up and running on Facebook. I have Red Threat, which is a reader magnet for the Lily and White series, for the thriller series. And then Connor File, which is a reader magnet for the Rider File. So I've got 3 different ads going to bring people in.
So 3 different reader magnet ads. Right. Somebody who's interested in a thriller or whatever, they see the ad. It's basically, hey, click here, you can get a free copy of this book. Is it a novella, a free copy of a novella?
Novella. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then hopefully that introduces. Do you send those ads straight to Amazon, or do you send them to like a landing page on your website or something?
I use BookFunnel for the reader magnets.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't done that yet. I use BookFunnel, but what I use it for is not reader magnets. For my beta readers, I'm like, hey, if you're ready to read, reply to me. I'll give you the link, and then it sends them to BookFunnel where they can download it. I like BookFunnel. Actually, I was at a writers conference about 2 weeks ago, and I think the owner of BookFunnel, if I'm not mischaracterizing that, he was there giving a presentation, and their Going to do a lot of exciting things. You can do audiobooks through them and
Yeah,
direct sales and just all kinds of cool stuff. It's you go to a writers conference, you come home with 80 million great ideas. Maybe
that's right.
none of them get implemented, but
There's a 20 books to 50K coming up in November. I'll be at that one.
yeah. Where's that one this year? Vegas again?
Vegas, yeah. Mhm.
It falls. So after school I do young authors clubs, and so these are third graders and fourth graders, fifth graders who they write little stories on paper and pencil each week, and I type them up and then they edit them, and eventually each kid will create enough volume to be their own book.
Okay.
So some of them will just be a collection of short stories, poems, songs. Others will sit down and write a novella length story for us, but kind of almost a novel for them. And so it's each week. And usually during the school year, I don't want to pull away because they need the consistency of come in and write something each week, or they just because there's plenty of times where you can't. The day after trick or treat, no writing's getting done. Those kids are just all crazy. And usually, depending on when the club day falls, if it's the day before trick or treat, they can't think about anything. If they went on a field trip that day, they can't think about anything. If it's close to Christmas, they can't think about anything. So we have enough downtime, without spring break, they can't think about it. So we have enough downtime. So as much as I would want to go, I think I use the excuse of I can't, just because we lose too much momentum. There's too many other breaks that time of year for those kids. And even though it's a break for me, they kind of need the constant there. But have you gone to it before?
Yeah, this will be my third year now. And like you said, you come back with a load of ideas and work to do, but also network with other authors, which is a lot of fun.
I have mixed feelings about writing conferences. Like I said, I just went to NINC. It's NINC. I just went to that one over here in St. Pete, and I'm almost of the opinion like anything I could, like before I go, I'm like anything I can learn there, I could probably learn online, possibly for free, probably by the same person, but it's just different being there. It's just different being there with all the people who are trying to do the stuff you're trying to do. And then as far as networking, writers, a lot of introverts, maybe they don't network too much. There's a lot of almost every conference I go to, there's 80% of it is romance writers. And then the other people are kind of there as well, hoping to get a few crumbs from the table. But 20 books to 50K is, I don't know, what would you say? You've been a couple times. What would you say that core group is?
They're really fantastic on marketing, which is probably where
That's
I'm
important.
weakest.
Well, that's kind of in the title there, it's like this is where we're trying to go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they have speakers that go through how to do Facebook ads, how to do Amazon ads, how to level up in those areas, newsletter marketing. Yeah, it's just everything you can think about writing related. And then they're going to have all the vendors there, Draft to Digital, Amazon.
And is it over a weekend, or is it like more during the week?
Yeah, Monday through Friday. So
yeah. I think I have a couple of friends who have gone. I don't know if anybody goes every year, but and everybody raves about it. I'm in that group on Facebook, and everybody raves about it. Everybody so psyched to go, all this stuff, a good time they're having while they're there. They rave about when they're back. And then friends I know outside of the Facebook group who go, who enjoy it. So what kind of are you meeting all kinds of good well, you write romance as well, so I would say, am I going to meet thriller writers there? Yeah, probably. Am I going to meet crime writers there? Certainly. It sounds like it's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, they have dedicated meetups. So 5 o'clock at this time, meet at this bar, and there's your thriller group.
Yeah, groups get together.
Yeah.
So which groups do you hang out with when you go to them?
Typically romantic suspense, because that's in several of the genres that I write.
And it's probably well-attended group. There's probably a lot of people in there.
Yeah, and so great to meet other authors. They might become your beta readers, newsletter swaps with them. So it's high yield for me, and I have tried the ones that are strictly online, and I find I don't make the time to sit down and watch the videos if I'm.
Well, that's true. It's if you're physically there, you're gonna make the time because you spent the money, you've made the physical effort to be present. I take it you don't live in Las Vegas, so yeah, I live in Tampa. So even though St. Pete's only an hour away, it's just far enough to where it's like I could probably drive back and forth go drive over in the morning, and when it's over for the day, come home. But yeah, even my wife was like, well, then you miss part of the after hours element, the networking, the socializing. And that's really where you can bond with some other thriller writers and get some other ideas or whatever. And there is a lot of that. That actually adds a lot of fun and personal elements to what otherwise is kind of like a school day, right? But even being physically present with somebody like, for example, the book funnel guy, well, you can raise your hand and ask a question of the president of book funnel. You probably can't do that in his online webinar if he has one.
Right.
So you go every year to that, huh?
I've gone 3. Yeah, this will be third year I don't think in a row. I guess I, with the pandemic, didn't go 1 year. But
Do you take the family? Does everybody else kick back and go enjoy Vegas while you're studying and in the groups? And
just me, since the kids are in school. I don't take them out of school for it, so just me.
Well, yeah, that was how it worked out for me. My wife happened to be out of town during this most recent conference. I used to do a bunch of them. I used to present at conferences and stuff. And then I just kind of like, diminishing returns. It's like, okay, part of me says give somebody else a chance, and part of me says, are you getting out of this? It's ego. It's gratifying to get in front of a large group, 100 people, and they're listening to things you have to say. That's great. And on the other end, being in the audience and having somebody share stuff like you were talking about, giving some insights that strike, and you're like, wow, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. That brings your game to a higher level. But I think the overall experience, if my wife went, a lot of them would be in Orlando that I would go. If my wife went, it's like she's not going to any of those things. So then what is she doing 8 hours a day while I'm here, and then go out or whatever? So I get the idea of not doing it with the spouse or the family or whatever, but maybe with a writer friend, something like that. That's what a lot of my friends have done with that one specifically, or other ones that were in their area.
Yeah. Actually, when I met Paul first online, the mystery writer, and then we met in person at 20 Books, and so it was neat last year when he came back, and you're able to have somebody that you collaborate with and share the conference and share meals.
Well, and in the 20K thing, it's a pretty active Facebook group, so you can kind of be friends, quote unquote, with certain people, and then you're going to be able to you kind of know them. A lot of that intimidating barrier stuff is already washed away, and people are as fun as they might be online. 3 dimensions in real time is more fun. I think even for as many introvert writers as are out there, they all eventually seem to enjoy themselves with other writers in person.
Right.
So for people who are trying to find out more about you, where do they go to find you and discover your stuff? And where should we send them?
Yeah, I am everywhere. The easiest one to remember is cbsamet.com, since that's my website. So everything is listed there. But people can follow me on Amazon at CB Samet, follow me at BookBub. You already mentioned TikTok if people are entertained by fun videos.
Actually, that I think is a chance to show off your personality in a different venue from what they might get, on your website or anywhere else. Even though most of the time it's not you talking, so if you want to hear her talk, this is where you have to go.
Exactly.
But I love, and in fact, this is one thing I want to ask you. So your stories that you're writing are different from the person in you that we see on TikTok, which of course is different from you in real life. We understand that. TikTok, we're just kind of showcasing some fun aspect. Excuse me. But that's the choking on there. To me, that's the fun element of it. Because like I mentioned, you're having fun, but you specifically are being different characters, or like I said, you have the wig sometimes, the hat sometimes, the different situations all the time. And it's So if I had to guess, what did you do as an occupation before I saw you on those, or what did you do before you did TikTok videos? I would have said, oh, she was obviously an actress or something. Probably wouldn't have guessed doctor, but that just gives you a chance to showcase other elements of yourself. Now, me, I write mostly murder mysteries, but my TikTok videos tend to be kind of humorous, and I've wrestled with how do I tie those two aspects together. And every once in a while, where I got it right, I'll get 3,000 views on that video. But most of the time, it's 200, 400, and it's like, but my approach was, if they want to see me, not so much the characters or the author who's writing those characters. I'm not really phrasing that properly, but like a little more behind the scenes, a little more me instead of the book stuff, right?
Right.
And then you'll see that on TikTok. Whereas with you, certainly we're seeing a lot of your personality in your TikTok.
Yeah, I think even though it's lip synced, you can figure out some of my personality just by what I chose to represent on TikTok.
They're humorous,
the fun stuff.
They're upbeat, they're fun, they're lively, they're short, they're engaging. Honestly, perfect for TikTok. And then I think, do you try to work a certain mix where it's like, okay, I'm going to present myself as an author, I'm going to have this humorous aspect of whatever my struggle is today or whatever, and then somehow direct that towards here's a book where I'm working on it, or this aspect applies to that book. Do you kind of try to do 4 funny videos and then one that's, hey, buy my book? How do you try to juggle that or mix that?
Yeah, I think the ratio that's pretty close, probably 1 to 3. So for every 3, just kind of humorous, either about being a writing mom or just author life in general, or my characters not liking me. Any of those, and then I'll throw in it one that's more advertisement geared.
My characters like me or not. It never crossed my mind. Do you have characters who don't like you?
So the red-headed wig is a representation of just characters in general,
but I never got the impression they didn't like their author. I mean, I suppose maybe if you're killing somebody off, they may not like you.
What I put them through, they make comments about what I put.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I again though, I think that was the circumstance, not so much I don't like you for doing this. Let's just say it was business, not personal. I never think that as they don't like you. You say, we've got a job to do. If I don't do my job and put you in trouble situations, nobody reads your story and you don't exist. So you got to take the good with the bad on that one.
That's right. It's a trade-off.
Well, Christina, it was great getting to know you today. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. And again,
thank you for having me.
You're available on Amazon and Kobo and Barnes & Noble, but the best place to look for you is on your website, and that is, once again,
www.cbsamet.com.
Samet, CB Samet, all one word, right?
Exactly, you got it.
All right, great. Well, thanks a lot for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It was great getting to know you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.